All right. Well, good morning to any replayers. If you are a replayer, don't forget that you can, Velvet Phantom, that you can still participate in this broadcast. Ways to participate, you tap on the screen for hearts, thank you. You can share that with someone that needs it, whether they're on Periscope, they're on Twitter, or on Facebook. You can also find me on Twitter and find me on Snapchat, where I am happy to answer your questions and do the math with you. Hi, Christy. So, people that are joining live, hello, hello. And I am not working out today. Hi, no workout clothes today. Look, I'm clean and nice because I had some vein procedure yesterday, and neither here nor there. Anyway, if you are new to me, my name is Joannazarach, and I do a daily money habits broadcast. And yes, heart it up. I'm trying to figure out how the Periscope, there's a Periscope algorithm that, like, I think if there's hearts at the beginning and maybe more people can see it, I'm not sure. So the viewership has been low. I've been hearing other broadcasters say that it's not kind of going through. Notifications aren't going out and all that jazz. But it's okay. You know what? Because I'm really trying to get one person a day to change something in their money plan and propagate that message throughout their network. So here's what I'm talking about today. Oh yes, money habits every day, seven days a week, 10 a.m. Central. And I'm going to do a Money Matters at 5 o'clock today. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do it. I might do it like debt repayment process because it's coming up a lot. And actually, I'm going to talk about a little bit today on money habits. So on Tuesday, I kind of create a task for people to do. Why do I do it? Because then on Wednesday, I make myself do it. Like I'll make myself do the spreadsheet that I talk about. So here's what I came up with today. I am seeing this a lot in terms of questions. It is the sequencing of your financial plan. And here's the typical, like, this is from a Facebook group yesterday. A woman posted and she said, my husband and I really got down and paid off our credit card debt. They had $30,000 credit card debt, was double-digit interest. And so now they have two loans. They're single-digit interest, student loan, I think a mortgage. And she's asking for advice from people who are have some financial savvy. You know how I feel about that. The advice, and let's put that in quote, that's coming out, people are overly focused on debt repayment, and they're not being rational. So this is what I want to talk about today. I really, really, really need people to do the math. And here's what I want you to do. If you have, everyone has to make this calculation at some point in a decision. So I have a mortgage, right? Hello. And Chua Bama. I don't know. It's like sometimes I see people reading out the screen names. I'm like, I don't know the person's name. So feel free to introduce yourself so I don't call you. I'm doing great. If you introduce yourself by your name, then I know what to call you, or by a moniker that you'd like to be called. I'm doing great. I'm talking about making a rational plan when it comes to your money. And so I feel like people get really like, make sure you pay off all your debt first. And that could be a mistake. And I'm not saying it's a mistake to pay off debt. No. And I don't know that that paying off debt is like, the message itself is not wrong, but the sequencing may be off, right? And so what I want people to do is actually really examine their entire financial plan. And again, people are not taking taxation into account. It drives me bonkers when, so I gave my advice. I said, sounds like you paid off double-digit debt. Please consider investing. Both the couple had jobs. I was like, look into your traditional 401k. And again, thanks, I am someone's mom. And so, if you listen to me, young lady or young man, I will, it'll be all worth it. So the 401k question where I was like, you need to contribute to additional 401k so you can free some cash flow, and build your net worth at the same time. Thank you. And so, you need to do that. But people were chiming in with Dave Ramsey and, I know that Dave Ramsey has done some good for people in terms of getting their shit under control when they're totally out of control, but I find him very patronizing and like, I don't think he also leads by example. If you look at Dave Ramsey's personal financial history, it's spotty, let's just say. Porn star. I doubt it. It must be a different type of fantasy. But one more comment and you're about to get blacked. So, because this is going down the gutter quick. Anyway, I want people to calculate the impact of their plan. So whatever you're thinking about deciding, whatever the sequencing is, you need to go and and really put in the numbers to say, okay, if I repay this debt, right, this debt percentage, and if I contribute this 401k, and here's my tax rate, here's where I'm going to end up in net worth, right? Like I harp a lot on net worth, but that's like kind of the ultimate yardstick when you take all those things into consideration. So project where you're going to be in your net worth. So you need to know your inflows, your outflows, and then your 3 rates of return, your rate of return, the rate that you're paying on interest, the rate of return you expect in the stock market or whatever other investments you want to make. I just do 8%. I think that getting more than 8% in return, which is the sort of historical market return, means that you're putting your money at risk or you're putting in some of the liquid investment. So I'm not saying that people don't get higher than 8% return. They do all day long. And then those are the same people who are going to be like, in 2008, I became broke, went from millionaire to broke because you have to take substantial risks. So know your risks when you're going into it. But if you're a long-term investor, and then do your tax rate, right? The tax bracket and your tax, how much your marginal tax rate is. And we've talked about the calculator that I've created. So this is the challenge today. It's to really write out all your finances in a spreadsheet and follow it through to say, look, if I make this decision, right, at year 1, here's where I'm going to be net worth. Here's the taxes I'm going to save. Here's the investment I'm going to put away, right? Because once you put in investments, not really available to spend. So also make sure you understand your cash flow situation. And then you put year 2 and year 3 and be rational. Like I know that there is this emotional impact of debt, especially, and again, if it's double digits, you must pay it off because you will not make a dent. You will not make a dent in your wealth building. Why? Because double-digit debt is indicative of your inability to have discipline over your cash flowing out. It means you overspending, right? You have no money coming in. And I know that some things put people in an emergency situation, whether it's, just unexpected job loss, or, et cetera. But that's why the earlier you start on getting your shit together when it comes to money, the more likely you're going to be able to prevent it or avoid it or mitigate it, right? So it's about mitigation. It's about understanding your financial situation. And it's about shutting out the messages that are coming at you and really concentrating on the facts, right? I was thinking about it. So what is it that I really enjoy doing? I like convincing people of my position. I know it sounds a little obnoxious. I like convincing people of what I do and what I recommend by showing them the numbers, right? And that's what I want you guys to do, is to do your own personal money plan and put it in a spreadsheet. And when you're making a decision, make it a rational one. And look at the impact on your net worth, year out, 2 years out, 3 years out, 4 or 5, etc. Project where you're going to be given 3 or 4 variables. Don't just blindly follow advice. That's the other thing people want to do. They just want someone else to solve the problem for them. That comes at a price. Free advice comes at a price. It comes from, the one lady was like, oh, you need to be investing your, spare cash. You should never let your cash sit idle. It should be making 6 to 7%. I'm a wealth advisor. I'm going to connect you to an advisor. And again, I don't want to be disrespectful to people when it comes to Facebook groups and calling people out. But basically I was like, please, that's bad advice, right? That's bad advice because it's making people feel like if they have emergency savings in cash, that they're inadequate, they're wasting money, they're giving up opportunity. But what really that person's steering, and maybe she's not saying it, I don't know, but most people, when they get an advisor client, they get a commission, right? So you're just a salesperson to an advisor who's going to take your money and either sell you a product that you can't afford or put your money at risk, right? And then you're gonna get a bad taste in your mouth for investing. Whereas if you just go, and I know some people are like, oh, don't miss the stock market, it's only good for Warren Buffett who buys and holds. It's like, right, but what's your time horizon? And like, you can also divide some of your money up, like diversify your investment, including yourself. You are an investment, you are an asset, you are generating income, but diversify it. If you put all of your cards, your chips on yourself, that is a dangerous bet to make. I know it, right? Like, don't put your chips on your spouse either, like have a thing. Okay, so two facts, completely random, that's really that were really bugging me as well. So one thing I read, this is about financial advisor and people who are advising you to make money, and it was about life insurance. A guy wrote an article about life insurance, and he was, talking about, it was like, I find that there are good people out there, right? Like, this is a good personal finance blogger, and he's like, look, most people don't need life insurance unless someone's depending on their income. And so if you're young and you have no dependents, like, there's no reason for you to have life insurance. Don't even bother. And then he said, and most people just need term life insurance because they can buy way more of insurance for their money. And this is the reason people push whole life insurance and says your buddy from college is trying to sell you whole life insurance, because a lot of times the commission is 100% of the first of the first year's fees. So some of these life insurance policy, whole life insurance, are like several $1,000s. So your buddy from college or your friend, quote unquote, that's trying to be helpful, they stand to make $5,000, right? Like if you put up your money, that's how much they get, because that's how profitable those products are. They are a bad investment. They are terrible. They are only good for people who are ultra wealthy, who are trying to do estate tax avoidance. If you don't have $5 million in the bank, you are not ultra wealthy. Okay? You're not even ultra wealthy. You have $10 million in the bank. And so most people who are buying whole life insurance buy the absolute worst product for them. And the people who benefit are the people who convince them to buy that product. So anyway, I always rail against whole life insurance because I see so many people trying to be helpful and just really misleading people. Like be clear about it. Ask the person, like, well, how much commission are you gonna get for that? But we want to be nice. We don't want to be, we want to listen. We want the free advice, right? I didn't have to pay for that advice. Free advice is going to cost you a lot of money. Except I give free advice. No, but I'm not trying to sell you anything, right? Like when money exchanges hands, that's no longer free advice, right? And so I want you to do the math yourself because I want you to take that. Okay, the other the other article, I just read this morning, that 80% of women will be in poverty in retirement. 80%. This was from like some national research thing. I need to figure out if I can watch their webcast. And I didn't read all details because the minute I read that, I get depressed. And there's many, many reasons why women are being left behind when it comes to wealth building. And the number one is because they want someone else to solve the problem for them. It is. Women are in poverty. 3 reasons are, and I know I railed about this last week as well, but it's so important. It is so important. Women need to take charge of their money. Do not rely on your husband. Do not rely on your boyfriend. Do not rely on your advisor. I don't care if you pay for professional services. You have got to take charge of your financial future. This is the 3 reasons why women end up poor in retirement. Well, one is they don't control, but the sort of thank you. And so the structural reasons is women earn less. Just out of, like, you show up for a job, and I guarantee, I'll put my money on it, you are getting paid less than a man doing the same job. You're getting paid less probably than a man doing a lesser job because you didn't ask for it. You didn't put your hand up. You didn't think you deserved it. So from the start, employers will only pay you what you're willing to work for. And it's like, it's not fair unless you're in unionized labor where it has to be transparent and the rules are written in and you're like, this is the amount of money you get every year, right? Like if you're a flight attendant, you know how much you're going to get paid and that hours you put in and that's what you get. And there's no gender discrimination when it comes to the union. That's right. And so the only thing is when you go to an employer and you ask for, you don't ask for it. Most people go to an employer and they just accept what people are willing to give them. And as a business owner, quite frankly, I will pay you the least amount of money I can get away with. And it's not because I'm a bad person, because it makes good business sense. It makes more profit for me to reinvest in the business and or keep for myself. So that's the thing. That's the dynamic, right? So anyway, women earn less than men. Women are more likely to forgo paid work to do unpaid work, whether it's childcare. It's not just childcare, by the way. It's the relocating spouse, right? When your husband gets a boyfriend gets a good position and they're like, okay, why don't you quit your job and go? They already have a job and you have a 3-month gap. And maybe you just take a job that's maybe a little lower paid because he's already making so much more that you feel like household income hasn't been impacted. And so the unpaid work is tragic. It's tragic because it adds so much inequality. You're not participating in 401k. There's all these little things that women do where they're like, oh, well, my husband has a 401k. Right, it's his money. And I know you can get it out in a divorce proceeding, but it's his money. And not participating in no 401ks, not their own IRAs, not taking charge of their money, not doing their tax returns. And then, of course, women live longer. Ladies, we got this. The gift that keeps on giving is that we ain't dying fast enough. So you got to be planning for like 40, 50, 60 years. Let's see. That's okay. You can just move along. So, and you can definitely, look into the future and say, where do I want to be, right? And that's why I encourage people to do the investments in themselves, like to produce income and income streams, and then do that for people and figure out how am I going to make an income past that portion, past the time where I'm getting a paycheck, or past the time where I'm actively able to put in the work, and then take your experiences and try to create something of value for people. Something that there are people that are coming up through the world that need your gifts and services and experience, and you need to figure out how to monetize it and how to do that. But you also need a good nest egg, right? You need to put away more money. So living longer is definitely one of the areas that does disadvantage women. But I think the biggest thing is that women don't want to take control over the money because it's scary. By the way, making financial decisions can be really stressful, right? Like making choices can be stressful. Knowing that like you're in charge, like it's your decision. Like when it's your decision, when it comes to money or anything else, when you're given the freedom to choose, then you have to accept the responsibility that comes with them. And by the way, it'd be so much nicer if like someone did that for you, right? But they won't. Like they won't have your best interest in mind. And even if someone loves you very much, it's not like about them. Like it's got to be about yourself. So anyway, I just encourage people to do that. When it comes to making those trade-offs between investing versus paying debt, really need to be doing more math. So tomorrow I will be showing the calculator, the demo of debt versus investing. And again, it's a very specific investing because I take the traditional deductible accounts, because I do think that it makes a difference. Like if you can lower your tax liability by starting the investing in tax deferred account. And again, I know people have to realize you will pay tax on this when you take that money out in retirement, hopefully lower bracket, because like my parents took their money out and it wasn't huge, but like they didn't ask me. They just like liquidated their IRA in a year that my dad still had some earnings because he retired halfway through. And it's like if he just waited till January 1, he probably wouldn't owe any taxes. And it's a little sad, like, 'cause my own family won't even ask. And I don't know who, like, gave them that idea. But, like, my dad somehow came to this conclusion by himself that, like, he's retired now, so they should liquidate an IRA. I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Like, they took none of that into consideration. Now they owe taxes. Now, he's not unhappy about it. I don't think that like he cares that much, but I think my mom would care. But then she didn't step up. She signed her form to liquidate her IRA. She didn't say, this is my money and I want someone to give me advice on it, or I want to keep it. Like, I don't think we need it immediately. So why don't I wait till next year or the year after? Or, hey, Joanna, what do you think? Like, she just went along with what my dad was decided was the best course of action, and she just went along with it. So anyway, nobody did the math. Nobody did the math ahead of time. So that's the other thing, is like, don't wait till tax time to figure out what's the tax implication. Do it ahead of time. Like, try to guess, right? It's everything else that has to do with planning. It's just making guesses. And the minute you start writing something down and trying to calculate it, you're 10 times more likely to get it right, to make a good decision. And then you need to like check yourself. And if you do that every year, like, nothing happens immediately. Like, my own advice, I wish I had 10 years ago. Like, I wish I had someone informing and educating me on what I now know a decade ago. Because I should have put more money in, like, I was already, like, I was like, I had this, like, sense of discipline, but I didn't know enough. And now I, like, know more, and I'm like, oh, crap, I can't believe I made all these mistakes that I talk about. But, like, if I had a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more time, and that's, again, like, a little bit of time, you just need to set aside some time to do that. And you need to sit down with your spreadsheet or with a friend that has a spreadsheet and do the math. So anyway, that's my kind of task for today. If you're facing a financial decision, don't be emotional about it. Act in a rational basis by putting your number in a spreadsheet, and then come up with a conclusion that you'll get, that you'll basically have, that you can feel good about, that you just did your due diligence. It's like, due diligence is like it seems like a big word, but all it really means is like looking at the facts. When people buy businesses, that's what, like, in business terms is doing due diligence, is to really not take someone else's opinion or description at face value, but to like dig into the numbers. And almost of due diligence has to do with like looking at the numbers, sales numbers, expenditures, like, are people cooking the books? So you need to do the same. And so that's what we're going to over tomorrow. And then today I'm probably going to do something on just debt sequencing, like in my Money Matters at 5. So if that's of interest, join in. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow or some other time when you can join at 10 a.m. Central Time. Thank you so much for joining in and for listening. Even if I do rant, as some people, come into my room and say, this isn't what it's supposed to be. It's like, well, I can tell you that money's not for buying things. It's for investing. But, we're all entitled to our own opinion. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you. I'm just wrapping up, so I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys later. Thank you for listening and tuning in. And don't forget, just change one thing every day when it comes to your money mindset, money actions, or money tracking. Bye bye.